We like to think that we are the boss of our choices, you know? We say, I chose this. We feel the moment we decide. This feeling of control is central to who we believe we are. It feels like we are the captains of our own ship, steering our lives with clear and conscious commands. But some science asks a different question. What if the brain already started the choice before we feel it? What if the feeling of deciding is more like a news report about something that has already happened deep within the brain's complex machinery? This idea sounds strange. It can feel like magic or like a puzzle that challenges our most basic assumptions about ourselves. This paradox is like a shadow that follows our sense of self. We feel a distinct I that makes decisions, yet evidence suggests that this I might be the last to know about the decision it claims to have made. Imagine a king who believes he rules a vast kingdom. He issues commands, and his subjects obey. But what if his advisors, having studied the kingdom's needs and moods, have already set everything in motion? The king's command is merely the final public announcement of a process that began long before. This is the central puzzle we will explore. We will look at how the brain prepares for action, how our bodies and feelings guide those preparations, and how we might still find freedom within this new picture of the mind. First, we will look at the scientific experiments that first uncovered this strange timing. We will see the brain work before the mind feels the decision. We will learn about the signals that hint at a choice before we are aware of making it. Second, we will explore how our body and our emotions are not separate from this process. They are the deep currents that guide the brain's choices from below. Third, we will use a simple, poetic idea from modern physics as a metaphor. This will help us imagine how our inner state can shape the possibilities available to us, giving us a new way to think about our own agency. The goal here is not to remove our sense of freedom. Instead, the goal is to understand it more deeply. By seeing the hidden mechanics of choice, we can discover where our true power lies. It may not be in the final spark of a decision, but in the slow, patient work of shaping the inner world from which all decisions arise. We can learn how to change our inner state, and in doing so, we can learn how to influence the choices our brain prepares for us. This journey offers a more realistic, and perhaps more powerful, way to think about being the author of our own lives. Imagine you plan to raise your hand. This is a small, simple act. You think about it, perhaps for a moment. You feel the urge build. Then, at a moment you choose, your hand moves. Scientists have studied this act for years because it offers a window into the nature of will. In the 1980s, Benjamin Libet invited people into his lab. He asked them to watch a fast-moving clock. He told them to flex their wrist whenever they felt the spontaneous urge. Afterward, they reported the exact clock moment they first felt the conscious intention. While they did this, Libet recorded electrical activity with an EEG. He was looking for a known pre-movement signal. This is a slow, rising wave called the readiness potential. Show graph. What he found was startling and debated ever since. The readiness potential did not begin when the person felt the urge to move. It did not even begin just before. Brain activity started building a full half-second or more before reported conscious will. The conscious decision, that feeling of now, was a latecomer. This discovery was profound. It suggested the subjective experience of deciding came later in the chain. The brain was preparing long before conscious awareness. Libet's work opened a crack in the solid wall of free will. It implied our sense of free choice might be the endpoint of hidden preparation. The feeling of deciding was real, but not the causal start of the action. It was awareness emerging after the brain began its work. This finding can feel uncomfortable. It can seem to take away control, to make us feel like puppets. But we must look deeper. The experiment does not say you have no choice. It shows the origin of choice is more complex and hidden. The brain is vast and intricate. Most operations run quietly in the background. The readiness potential is a glimpse into that hidden preparation. The decision feels sudden, but the brain has been setting the stage all along. For decades, the debate around Libet's findings continued. Some critics argued that the timing was imprecise, or that the experiment was too simple to say anything meaningful about real-life decisions. But then, new technology allowed scientists to look even deeper into the brain. Using functional magnetic resonance imaging, which measures blood flow to active brain areas, researchers could see more than just the final readiness potential. They could observe the subtle patterns of activity that came even earlier. A landmark study by John Dylan Haynes and his colleagues in 2008 took this exploration to a whole new level. They asked participants to freely decide whether to press a button with their left hand or their right hand. In this experiment, people watched a stream of random letters on a screen and were told to remember the letter that was visible at the exact moment they made their decision. The fMRI scanner monitored their brain activity throughout the process. The results were even more dramatic than Libet's. The researchers found that they could detect predictive patterns of activity in specific brain regions, particularly the frontopolar cortex, an area associated with high-level planning. These patterns appeared a staggering 7 to 10 seconds before the person reported having made their conscious choice. The brain had, in a sense, already decided which hand to use long before the person felt that they were the one making the call. This discovery was a powerful confirmation and extension. It showed a long, slow-burning fuse. The initial sparks of a choice seemed to originate deep within the brain's processing networks, far from the light of conscious awareness. The feeling of "I choose right" or "I choose left" is the final, conscious recognition of a process unfolding for a significant time. The brain is no fortune teller or cheat. Much of decision-making is simply inaccessible to consciousness. It integrates memories, current needs, environmental cues, internal states to weigh possibilities. This weighing starts long before certainty. The final feeling marks when the scales tip. This discovery can feel disempowering if we think the brain acts entirely on its own. It can seem to take away our control and paint a picture of a purely mechanical mind. But we must look deeper, because the brain does not act in a vacuum. It is deeply and intimately connected to the body. The body carries our history. The body carries our feelings and emotions. These physical states are not just background noise. They actively shape what the brain will do next. Our emotions and bodily sensations are powerful inputs that guide the unconscious preparations for a choice. They set a tone that makes some actions feel more natural and likely than others. Think about the last time you felt a pang of hunger. You did not perform a logical, step-by-step analysis of all available food options. Your body felt a specific need, a pull towards sustenance. This pull immediately shaped your decision-making process. Certain foods came to mind more easily. The thought of a warm meal, the thought of a cold snack. Your body's state sent a powerful signal to your brain, narrowing the field of options before you even began to consciously deliberate. This is a simple example, but it illustrates a profound principle. Our physical state constantly biases our cognitive processes. The brain is always listening to the body's whispers. Emotions work in precisely the same way. Anxiety, joy, fear, calm. Feelings like these are not just fleeting moods. They are physiological events that change the landscape of the mind. When you are anxious, your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes shallow, your muscles tense up. Your brain registers these signals and shifts into a state of heightened alert. In this state, you are more likely to make quick, defensive choices. You might avoid risks or stick to familiar patterns. Conversely, when you feel joyful and calm, your body is relaxed. Your brain, reading these signals, opens up to more creative and exploratory choices. In other words, our emotions set a default path for the brain. They create a kind of gravitational pull that makes certain decisions easier to fall into. The brain moves along this path of least resistance, unless a strong conscious effort is made to change its course. How exactly do emotions exert this powerful influence? They do it by changing the very nature of the signals the brain receives and processes. Heart beats faster, heart beats slower, breath deepens, breath shortens, muscles tense for fight, muscles relax in safety. The brain is the ultimate pattern recognition machine. It constantly reads this internal data stream from the body. It learns from the past. It creates associations between bodily states and outcomes. If a choice once led to danger and a racing heart, the brain flags that path with a warning. Over time, these learned associations become ingrained habits. They shape the foundation from which the readiness potential grows. The brain's early, unconscious activity carries years of emotional learning. It doesn't start neutral. It expects certain futures based on the current emotional weather. Potential futures feel near. Potential futures feel vivid. Potential futures feel real. Other futures feel distant, abstract, impossible. An anxious mind imagines negative outcomes. The brain begins preparing for them just in case. We can see this dynamic in everyday scenarios. Calm person, anxious person, two mysterious doors. Calm person feels safe and takes their time, curious, chooses with little hesitation. Anxious person hesitates longer, overthinks, often chooses the more familiar or less risky door. The final choice isn't set in stone. Their internal bodily state provides a powerful nudge. That nudge biases the brain's initial unconscious leanings. Different moods lead to different choices from the same facts. Our inner state functions like a hidden compass. A subtle, persistent hand guides the brain's early preparatory movements. The readiness potential isn't just a logical calculation. It arises from a brain tuned to a specific emotional frequency. Changing decisions isn't just about willpower. It's also about learning to tune our internal instrument, our body and its emotional state. Section 6. A quantum metaphor. Now let us bring in a helpful metaphor from a seemingly unrelated field: quantum physics. In the strange world of quantum mechanics, particles like electrons do not have a single, fixed position before they are measured. Instead, they exist in a cloud of many possible states at once, a superposition. It is only when an active observation or measurement occurs that this cloud of possibilities collapses into a single, definite reality. Thinkers like Carlo Rovelli, David Bohm. We will not use these ideas as a literal scientific explanation for the brain, but as a poetic tool to help us visualize the process of choice. Let's picture the future not as a single predetermined line, but as a vast field of branching paths, like a wave of many possibilities spreading out before us. Before we act, many different futures are potentially available. You could raise your hand or not. You could turn left or right. You could speak or stay silent. In this metaphorical view, our inner state, the combination of our bodily sensations, emotions, and ingrained habits, acts like the observer in the quantum experiment. It is our internal observation of the world that narrows down this vast field of future possibilities. It makes some paths seem brighter and more likely, while others fade into the background. This metaphor helps us reframe the relationship between our mind and the world. The brain does not simply pick a path from a blank and empty map. It chooses from a map that has already been colored in by our emotional and physiological state. When we observe the world through a lens of anxiety, the paths leading to danger, threat, become brighter and more compelling. When we observe through calm and curiosity, a different set of paths lights up. The wave collapses around a more open and exploratory future. Our internal state focuses the lens through which we view our options. Again, this is only a metaphor. The brain is a biological organ, not a tiny quantum laboratory. But the image is useful because it shifts the focus away from a single, magical moment of decision. It helps us see choice as a process where internal conditions are just as important as external facts. The metaphor of collapsing possibilities shows us how a multitude of small and large factors, our mood, our posture, our breathing, our past experiences, all contribute to making one particular future become real while leaving countless others behind as mere phantoms of what might have been. It gives us a new way to think about how the world we experience is shaped from the inside out. Using this quantum metaphor, our internal state is an active force. It is the filter through which possibilities are viewed. Every moment our brain takes in information from our senses. It also takes a constant stream of information from within our body. Section 8. The skill of freedom. If the brain starts the action and our inner state guides it, do we lose our freedom? Not necessarily. This new understanding redefines freedom. Freedom isn't just the last millisecond veto. It's the ability to shape conditions that give rise to actions. We can act on habits and feelings. We can train body and mind to create a different internal landscape. That changes the default paths the brain takes. This is where agency truly lies. Here are simple, practical steps to practice this skill. First, the act of noticing. Several times a day, pause and feel the body. Where is there tension? Jaw, shoulders, stomach. How is the breath? Shallow and quick, deep and slow. Turning awareness inward begins to change our relationship with our internal state. Second, naming. Put a label on the feeling. I am feeling a sense of anxiety. I am feeling calm. Naming separates us from the feeling and reduces its power. Third, shift the body. Take 3 slow, deep breaths. Stand up and stretch. Walk around the room. These small actions send new signals back to the brain and tell the nervous system to stand down. Fourth, practice new choices. Take a different route to work. Try a new food. Respond slightly differently. Repetition carves new neural pathways. Over time, the readiness potential will emerge from a different foundation. The brain still prepares unconsciously and early, but it prepares for different moves. These steps let us have a say in the unconscious process. Freedom is a skill cultivated over time. It is the patient, deliberate practice of shaping the inner state that births our choices. Section 9. A new kind of agency. Let us return to the original scene one last time. You are about to raise your hand. Close up. Fingers tense, breath held. We now see this simple act in a new light. Neuroscience shows your brain began preparing the movement before you felt the urge. Your body, steeped in mood and past experience, guided that preparation. Our physics metaphor helps visualize this process. Imagine your inner state collapsing a wave of future possibilities into the single reality of a raised hand. The present moment is the meeting point of many hidden forces. This truth is humbling and also deeply hopeful. We are not the absolute commanders we once thought. Much of who we are starts beneath awareness. Still, we are not mindless puppets. We are complex, dynamic systems able to self-regulate. Our power isn't one heroic instant, but the countless quiet moments of practice that shape the ground from which decisions grow. We can learn to train our bodies, befriend our feelings, and practice new ways of being. Agency shifts from a point in time to a continuous process. True freedom is a cultivated state. It is an inner environment of calm, clarity, and intention. From that state, choices align with deeper values and goals. Science that seemed to take freedom away gives it back, more meaningful, sustainable. It doesn't solve consciousness's mystery, but it opens a door to self-mastery. Reflect on this. If choices begin as unconscious preparations, what one small change will you make today? Will you take a moment to breathe deeply before you respond to an email? Will you consciously relax your shoulders while you stand in line? Will you try one small act that breaks a familiar routine? That small act is a seed. A seed, over time, changes forests. Small shifts in your inner state change which futures your brain makes real.